Hi everybody, my name is Ben Haldin and I'm here to talk to you today about delivering digital design to create project certainty. And thank you very much Bev and Jeff Haynes for organising this event. Before I start, I'd just like to talk to you about a brief explanation, an overview, a bit like a preface before a fantastic film that you might sit down and watch. And I really want to just get the point across that people talk about building information modelling. It used to be called single building modelling. We're now talking about digital twins. We're now talking about the Internet of Things. And I also want to just hang on the point or communicate the point about the level of maturity in the industry today. We all hear 2D, 3D, 4D, 5D and 6D. And we've all seen the charts that have been in the industry influencing and advising people on interconnectivity between 2D and 3D geometry. And I just wanted to evidence to you that through our 19 years of being in this industry, we feel, as on this slide here, there's a dot between 2000 and 2010, that the industry very much still sits between a mixture of 2D and 3D design. It is not common practice for people to share models, 3D models across all work packages, and it's not common practice for all disciplines to model in 3D to a level of detail that creates a construction-ready design. So some of what I'm going to talk to you about today are practical and pragmatic examples of what's going on in the industry today and how we might collectively work together to improve this industry. And everything I'm going to talk to you about today hinges around a digital prototype. And Fulcro was set up in 2002 with the sole benefit of connecting people, process and technology to create a digital prototype. We used to call it bridging the gap between design and construction. As we've evolved through the evolution of this, that's unfair to designers because it implies they don't do enough to give to construction, and then construction, and that kind of aligns itself to the modern way in which projects are procured these days, which is a whole other conversation and presentation that I could go into. But Fulcro's been around for a long time. We're made up of a group of technologists, architects, engineers, construction technologists, and our services touch project management, design and construction coordination, digital design management, multidisciplinary technical design services. We do digital design. I've got BIM and VDC in there as a line. I'll have to change that and put digital twin curation. There's volumetric modular design, could have put MMC in there, 4D sequencing, digital construction and assembly and coordination, and then there's virtual reality, augmented reality, simulation, and then we do product development. And that's a lot, and we kind of communicate to our clients, and here's an example of some of the clients that we've got. We communicate to our clients that we sometimes liken ourselves to an AMG on the back of a Mercedes. We're a performance tuning house, and we work with all these clients predominantly to embed business as usual, a digital delivery plan for projects so that they can all work together to move up that maturity diagram I started this presentation with. We want to move up to level 2, level 3 and beyond. And one of the challenges for doing that is the REBA work stages. And I don't want to be offensive or challenging, but I do feel this industry needs to change. A step change is required. Everybody's been talking about modern methods of construction. Everyone's been talking about volumetric modular construction, but we're not doing it enough. You know, our industry isn't changing enough. And one of the barriers to that, in my view, are the traditional linear work stages, the REBA work stages we have here, where we have to go from one stage to another, and you might be doing something in stage 3 to do with planning. It might be to do with some chillers on the roof or some kind of external public area you want to put on a building, but you're not going to finalise that because you're not contracted to do a piece of work that needs to be in another stage, and you get conflicts of interest. One other problem with the REBA work stages is that it delivers an outcome that means that you are designing it, you're building it, and then you're beginning to operate it, and then you have to start testing and modifying and fixing things. We want to try and adopt more of an automotive aerospace approach where you're designing it, you're analysing it, you're testing it in the digital world, and then you go and build it. And one way to do that, and one thing we've learned as a business to do that, is move away from the traditional classical way of working to one that is driven by a process. And if you do start driving your business through a process, you can start allocating roles and responsibilities to people. And that does give you better outcomes and performance in meetings. You get a better outcome to collaborative resolutions to things. With everything in mind that you are trying to assemble this prototype, you need everybody in that process to be focused on that same goal. And how we've solved that problem, because I had to set up my own business to do that, because now I'm enabled to challenge and wrap the Reba work stages up into a concurrent, simultaneous way, which is why I've got it illustrated as a circle on this diagram. And around that, we recognise that there are all these business functions that get wrapped around the digital prototype, the way in which we deliver this digital twin. And around that, we plug in our own process that gives clients project certainty and enables things to be delivered faster, better, and for less. Recognising that there does need to be a level of gateway and targeted gateways, because people would need activities, schedules of work, so that you can start establishing a scope of service which maps this new integrated informed project delivery process to enable project certainty. And the driver for this is this diagram here, and it's been modified, used by many people. Some people think it was a Patrick McLeanley and Mark Bew diagram. I saw this diagram presented to me by a guy called Andy Parker, who was head of mechanical services at AMEC Design and Management in 1997. And it made sense because at that time we were delivering turnkey. We were designing and constructing buildings, and we recognised that bringing procurement and understanding what the needs of the construction team and the operation and the people who are going to use the building is, if you can deliver that more in the design phase, you will mitigate your risk of cost overrun, cost growth, risk pots. So the orange curve that you see on the diagram in front of you disappears. And no other industry would allow you to go into manufacturing and assembly with unknowns, with not having done things before, and halting that production line, which is why I've put this slide up to illustrate to you that we really need to. You know, Sunak has put it in the budget, allocated money for our industry to innovate and evolve, and we're not going to do it if we continue to do the same thing that we've done year and year and year after year and year and year. And here's some examples of some digital prototypes, some digital twins that we've been involved with. And I wanted to get the message across that there's no excuse other than capacity in the industry for everybody working in a building infrastructure projects to create a digital prototype, a 3D digital prototype. The ability is there, but it's the capacity and capability this industry needs to focus on, and training is important, and it's something I'm very passionate about. I'm on the board of the IoT at Dudley College and the Institute and the Black Country and the Marshes Institute, where we're really driving hard to educate young people into the digital delivery of construction, and it's something I think everybody should support. So I'll just click through a few images explaining, evidencing these digital prototypes. And these aren't pretty pictures. These are 3D models that were used for manufacturing, assembly and construction. And every project that Fulcro gets involved with has a level of validation and verification. This ensures us to enable product that is construction ready. And most projects that we use end up having the prototype, the outcome of the design and information, the digital twin validated and verified in something that's called a Fullmax. And I'm actually standing inside Fullmax at the moment, giving this presentation. And you'll see on the top right-hand corner a video running. And inside the Fullmax, we can load up 360 video footage. I'm actually standing on Tower Bridge at the moment, and if we spin around, there's a building over here, which is a 3 keys project we delivered with Mace, and I've got a slide about that in a minute to show you. Now, the 3D, the Fullmax is a one-to-one environment where we can load up digital, we can load up 360 video, we can load up scan data, and it enables me to look people in the eyes, and with a face mask, COVID regulations if required, to eyeball people and get the confidence and trust that something has been done. It enables me the confidence to commit additional resources to move into construction and fabrication. And we did some work recently on Thames Tideway, and there was an issue revolving around rebar cage that was planned to be installed, but a problem with it and a better solution was worked out safely in the environment in a Fullmax, and that enabled a cost benefit. And there are some case studies on the internet. You can search Fullmax Thames Tideway and you'll see some case study information as well. And here's an example of how we use 4D, 5D planning. This is an extract from a digital control room. This is an extract of a report. So even though we use the Fullmax to visualize, we do have to put things down on paper. We have to record actions and meetings. We use online markup systems. There's many products that you can use within the Fullmax. We have other software vendors that we bolt into. And again, that's another conversation. I'm happy to take any questions. I've got my email at the end of this slide deck if anyone wants to email any more information about digital control rooms, the Fullmax, and the software integrations that we have. And I want to just take the next stage of this presentation to talk about how global industry is moving towards digital project delivery. I'm going to focus on this subject of digital twin now and use the same graphic that I used at the beginning of this presentation to hone that all this is funneling ourselves down into maintaining a single source of truth, a common set of data that everybody has contributed to and contracted to deliver, funnily enough. And digital twins are expanding their footprint. In 2019, I think the industry was worth 3.8 billion. Forecast is that it's going to be worth somewhere in the region of 36 billion in 2025. And everybody is talking about digital twins and the Internet of Things. And the objective is that we want to get credible data from our building and infrastructure projects. And we want to be able to access that data in an agile and scalable way and create dynamic workspaces. And a basic summary of that, given the fact that I did talk to you earlier on about Fulcro being about people, process and technology, we're also very pragmatic. So I'm not trying to blow people's socks off with this presentation and shooting for the moon. We're here on this earth and we've got to be practical and pragmatic. And here's some examples of a current day environment of a digital twin that we have to make sure it connects in with 3D project information and data. We have to make sure also we have to consider how we get 2D information in, because some of the supply chain we engage with may not be able to contribute to producing 3D digital, but they need to be involved in the supply chain because they have a particular expertise or product the solution needs. So we do have to make sure we can still do 2D integration. There are controls we want to plug into this. I showed you an example of a digital control room, 4D planning, live documentation, etc. There's those things that need to come into it, and cost modelling. We also use a digital twin very recently for COVID-19 mitigation and helping people understand what's going on with that. And one example is that we took 360 video camera footage, which enabled people to access the project site from a Fullmax in London, a Fullmax in Warwickshire, and it cut down on people's travelling. Site engagement is very important. Compliance, security information, statutory information to do with health and safety, CDM requirements, evidencing things, and then you can connect this digital twin for maintenance, O&M, FM information, and that then links out to this Internet of Things. If you get a digital twin created which enables the building owner to have it, then you can connect all your sensors to operational parameters, accessibility, monitor people's usage within the building, and there's a whole other subject that people can talk to you about that, which there's no time to talk about in this particular slide deck. But I also want to use this slide to evidence and give a big shout out to University of Birmingham, because they very much recognised very early on, years and years ago, that this isn't just about a building project or a piece of infrastructure. This is about their estate and how they could connect their estate to everything. And that might be looking at their estate and going into a system where all their fan core units are going to be procured and manufactured by the same manufacturer to reduce their cost of maintenance, all those kind of things, moving students through and in and out buildings, etc. I want to evidence a few case studies, please, if I may, to evidence that what I'm talking about is real. Fulcro take professional indemnity insurance on what we do. We don't just provide consultancy to our clients about how to improve the design teams. We also provide evidence-based modelling to do with, we're just going to go back a slide. Evidence-based modelling to do with construction documentation, and this is a teenage cancer treatment centre for the University College London. Fulcro took responsibility of creating all the digital information, and I say that it was all done in 3D for all of the internal interfaces between structure, building services and architecture, and the model was accurate enough that all the MEP services, bracketry, head tracks were all set out using I call it a laser measuring device. It was a Trimble total station that we used for that. This is some apartments that are in the Three Keys apartment that I showed you in the Formax. I pointed to that we're working to deliver a digital prototype. This is an example of a energy centre for a large PFI hospital project. All of the installation, manufacturing drawings for the mechanical services came from our digital prototype. Another example of a skid assembly that we did with a significant prime contractor some years ago. This is a Believe in Better Building Sky, where we reversed engineered a digital prototype for the facilities management and the operation and maintenance of that building for Sky. This is an example of an architectural digital twin for Chelsea Barracks. And this is an example of two buildings, Regent Street on W4, W5, where it was a retained facade. We worked initially for the main contractor on this project, and then we got, we didn't get novated, we got asked to work directly for the client on the building next door, where we actually worked from the client side, helping the design teams enhance their delivery so that a better and more successful tender package was let for the prime contractors to tender against. And there's an example of the actual complete project on the top right with the digital twin below. And the biggest example is a 34-storey volumetric modular building. I continually talk about this year on year. I don't know why volumetric modular has not taken off in the way I feel it should have done in the marketplace. Probably because of the traditional nature of our industry, and there's not enough momentum to create this paradigm shift yet. Maybe it's a bit like going from petrol, diesel powered cars to electric. Maybe we do need some successful driven billionaire to come on board and try and start producing volumetric modular buildings. But this was all detailed to the level of detail of the drawing here, to do with the nuts and bolts and the facade detailing. And the digital prototype contained everything that enabled the manufacturing and construction, but it was also connected to the warehousing for the components and the parts for the building. And this is some photographs of the finished building. And the last thing to get across to you is that going back to the Dudley College I've mentioned before, we delivered a project collaboratively with a fantastic group of designers and construction people that enabled us to deliver 6.5% under the budget that we were aiming for. Very successful project delivered through a integrated project insurance collaborative contract. And again, another big conversation we could have about that, and please do email me or contact me after this presentation if you want to know more about that, because that's one of these things that will enable this industry to change. And as a bit of amusement, and for those of you who are probably born in my generation will understand the character that I'm just about to show you. And this is an extract from Winnie the Pooh, and there must be a better way. And I've just slowed down there in the hope that you've all read that, because it's a bit of tongue-in-cheek about there's got to be a different way. We must all take a moment to think. In 1994, I did a presentation where we were delivering a large pharmaceutical project. Everything was modelled in 3D. It was going to be a very successful project, and we had a workshop, and we said in 5 years' time, everybody will be doing this. And I'm now in 2021, and everybody's talking about it, but as I evidenced at the beginning of this presentation, the capacity and capability in the industry to date is still very much between the 2D and 3D. But the good news is, in environments like this, in workshops like this, in sessions like this, we can do this now. It is just up for us as people to change and make this a success. So thank you very much.